want to start with just a touch of context. Can you share the path that led you to the Roadhouse?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. In my mid 20s, I decided that I wanted to become a server and go back to school. And so I started my serving career for 1 year at a seafood restaurant in Ann Arbor. And there was somebody who was hosting at that restaurant and also at the Roadhouse where I'm currently at, Zingerman's Roadhouse in Ann Arbor. And they said, I think you would be a really good cultural fit for Zingerman's Roadhouse. Why don't you come over and apply there to be a server? And so I did. And kind of the rest is history, essentially. But I did end up transitioning over, tried to work two jobs for a little while, and that wasn't working for me. So I just moved over to the Roadhouse full time as a server and did that for about 5 years, almost to the day. And there was opportunity for leadership, which I hadn't really had any formal training on. And I said, let's just go for it. Let's do it. I like where I work. I think it'd be cool to get into a leadership role. And so there was an assistant manager role that opened up and I went for it and I got that. And that was in 2009. And I was an assistant restaurant manager for about 3.5 years. And then there was opportunity to go for the restaurant manager role. And I got that luckily and did that for about 10 years. And about 2.5 years ago, I had already started my path to partnership here at Zingerman's and at the Roadhouse and finished it up. And then I've been in this managing partner role now for about 2.5 years.
Let me ask you something. So again, like you started as a server,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
What about Zingerman's transitioned in your mind? Because like you didn't start there thinking this could be a career. I'm going to die in this restaurant.
Yeah, no, I didn't think that at all.
So I would ask you, what is it about the culture that you stepped into that transitioned you from thinking this is a stop along the way to this is where I'm going to land?
Yeah. What I like about our restaurant culture is, and part of what we're going to get into today, is that we put a lot of emphasis on servant leadership. So leaders are here to support the staff, to take care of the guests. It's not just figure it out and have fun. Our managers don't sit in an office with their feet up, not supporting the staff. We do quite the opposite. We have things like extra miles, right? It's like our third step of great service, which is find out what the guest wants, get it for them, and then go the extra mile. And so we do fun stuff for people and we make the experience, accommodating and interesting and unique and hopefully bring folks back in. We're also an open book finance company, which I love. We share our financial information, or most of it, the impactful pieces, with the staff, and we ask their opinions. It's inclusive. It's collaborative. We care about what people think. We actually want to know what you think because sometimes people know better than us what the right way to go is. And so we have regular meetings with the staff. Those are some of the things. And then we'll get into another big piece of what I really love about our culture is our no drama work.
Let's dig right into it. So it's the assumption is that drama and dysfunction are just part of this industry. It is just baked into the pie. I would start with, what's the real cost of that mindset?
I mean, it quickly can lead to your job experience sucks and you're probably not providing great service. And those are two of the big things why we're here, right? We're here to take care of our guests and we're here to take care of each other. And if we have a toxic, negative environment, well, I mean, I don't want to work in that environment personally, and I don't think most people do. And again, that trickles down directly to guest service. And if someone's in a bad mood because somebody just was, gossiping about something or said something mean or wasn't helpful or snapped at somebody, I mean, you're probably going to go and give that to the guest. Some people can kind of rein it in and keep it in, but why do that? Why have to do that? Let's provide a supportive environment for all of the staff to then give wonderful, service to our guests. So again, they have a really good time. That's what they're doing here. They want good food and a good service.
What's interesting to me is, when I made no money as a restaurateur, I didn't know anyone that made any money. Like, it's everyone that makes no money hangs out together. But then you meet all of these other people that make all this money. And they all know a bunch of people that make a bunch of money. I've interviewed more than 500 people for the show. They all make a ton of money. Life is really good for everybody. They've
Yeah.
achieved some semblance of balance for the most part, right?
Yeah.
They've created sustainable businesses. And yet, the misconception is that like you're never going to make any money. It's not going to work. And that it's always going to be these fly by night people that work for you. And so I would ask you, when did that paradigm shift happen for you? Because you're of the industry. And then you went
Yeah.
to Zingerman's.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is hard to make money in restaurants. It can be done. And we have gone up and down over the years, with different things and different impacts. And are you raising, are people coming back to eat here? Are you, providing what you say that you're providing to the guests? Are you raising prices when you need to be? Are you keeping those things in mind? Are you getting feedback from your staff and from your guests? Yeah, but what was the question again?
The question was, in your own experience, like as your paradigm began to shift, what was it about Zingerman's that facilitated this no drama environment?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because you came from the restaurant industry generally, right? You weren't Zingerman's wasn't the first restaurant job you ever had, so you know what it
Yeah,
looked like other places.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So, yes, wonderful question. So, the first restaurant, actually, I've only worked at 2 restaurants, but the first one that I worked at was, it had a lot of good things going and it had a pretty toxic work environment. And I learned that real quick. And I didn't like it. And so that's when the person, like I said, that worked at both the Roadhouse and this other restaurant, worked at both and said, why don't you come on over to the Roadhouse? I think this might be better for you. So I came over and it was a market improvement. No place is perfect. And we didn't have this no drama or, calm is contagious work. We did not have this in place yet. It was many years later that we brought this about. Between the time that I started as a server, so from 2004 until about 2017, again, there was parts that I loved and parts that kept me around and, made me want to stick around. But there's still pockets of negativity, right? Like people are people, humans are humans. And then sometimes it got to the point of where I was like, not happy. Like, this isn't cool. Like, everybody stop being jerks, like be nice to each other. So that, with like kind of the foundation and the things that I already loved about the organization and realizing that we can be different and we want to be different, or at least some of us do. I mean, again, there's those folks that kind of, fit that mold and kind of get into their downward spiral when shit starts hitting the fan and all that stuff. But once it was actually Ari, one of the co-founders of Zingerman's, that like brought it up, like, hey, should we we have something called BLC, which it stands for bottom line change, but it's just a process for implementing change within the restaurant or the organization. And he said, should we do a BLC on like no drama? And I kind of like laughed it off. I'm like, like, sure, that's funny, right? Like, that's never going to work. And so a couple months went by and then we continued to have, pockets of whatever negativity and the things that, again, can happen. And he brought it up again. And I was like, I kind of laughed again. And then I was like, wait, could this work? Like, is this something that would be helpful? Right. And so we actually did put it in the format that we use here. And he shared it. And it looked at that point really different than it looks today, which is okay. That's kind of part of the process too. But at that point, we did have our previous managing partner leave, and we started to focus on more of what this might look like and how it could be a positive impact on our culture. And it went from there. I was on maternity leave at the time, but there's people started defining it more and figuring out, what these steps can and should look like. And now it is something that we teach in every month in our Welcome to the Roadhouse class as part of our basic orientation.
One of the things you've said is that restaurant culture isn't just about morale, it's about profit. What is the connection between eliminating drama and increasing profitability?
Yeah, I think it goes back to if you don't get people to come back to the restaurant, well, kind of what good are you, right? And to get folks to come back again and again, you have to be doing something right. And I believe the things that to do right, which kind of seem basic and we break it down on all different levels, but is great food and great service, right? And then and great finance hopefully follows from that.
Does it?
Well, there's a lot of other levers and other factors that are going to lead to good profit. And I mean, I think those are the final details, or the finer details. But if you don't have great service and great food, I mean, I believe you need those two things and lots of other things to make sure that you are paying attention to get yourself to profitability.
So the misnomer is going to be that I think a bunch of people will listen to this and then they're going to be adamant about fixing their culture. So they're going to start having staff meetings about it. They're going to write their core values on the wall. They're going to talk about it constantly. But that's not enough, is it?
It's not enough to change your culture or to find a profit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not enough to change your culture.
It is not. It is not. It is something that needs to be talked about regularly and implemented into whatever meetings, classes, put things on the wall, remind folks. I would say one of the biggest pieces is laying the foundation up front and then coaching in the moment. So as long as everyone knows these are the tenets, these are the standards, and there's consistent reminding. Because I mean, yeah, you can talk about something once or you can talk about something 20 times. And if you don't reinforce it, it's just going to go out the window. So you do have to get buy-in. You have to get buy-in from leaders and you have to get buy-in from frontline staff. And you need that regular reinforcement. You know, it needs to be talked about. And if you all kind of, again, know what it is and have the commonality of language, it's a lot easier. But if you don't have that consistent feedback, really on a kind of a daily basis, then it's not going to have as much of a positive impact as it can.
And let's talk about how to talk to people. I hear you talking, you sound like Ari. Or maybe Ari sounds like you. Lord knows. It's been so many years.
We've worked together a long time. Yeah.
Right. Who knows where one ends and the other begins.
Right.
But you both have this thing about you that I feel like you could hold me to account and I would not be offended, which is an art, you know? Talk to me about the art around layering accountability in, having difficult conversations, and doing it in a way that the information is well received.
Yeah, I think, and I'm not sure I'm not sure the topic that you and Ari talked about, but I can guess some of the things that
he has been on the show
discussed.
4 different times.
Okay,
no one has been on the show more than Ari.
Okay, awesome. I mean, a lot of it I think comes down to like the dignity, which I'm sure he's talked about, which is really, really important and a big part of our culture. But just respect, you know, and taking yourself down to the level of, you know, we're not top down, and I think that means a lot. So it's not me just telling everyone what to do and like, you better do it or else you're not going to have a job. Like, that's not the message. You know, it's like, hey, we're all human. This is what we believe is the best for our culture and our restaurant and the service that we provide to each other and to our guests. And so if we see somebody not acting in accordance with those things, which happens, I mean, it happens all the time. We're human. We're another restaurant. It's just that, again, I think we try to reinforce and, again, kind of build a foundation, like bring it up right in the beginning when people start and continue to talk about it. And, you know, it sometimes gets to the point where people aren't doing these types of things and following with the no drama kind of expectations. And when we sit down and talk with them, I mean, we reference it and they know what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, most people aren't like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, we've been talking about this. You know what we do expect. We expect leader to leader, frontline staff to frontline staff. This is an expectation for everybody in the building. You know, it's not just for frontline staff. Like, we try to model that behavior, which is a big deal.
And so I would ask you, it all starts with hiring. And so have there been hiring practices that you guys have put into practice that help to eliminate that drama before it could even start?
Yeah, there's some good questions that I think we ask, and it's never like for sure, you know, but like, how do you like to receive feedback? You know, tell me about a time when somebody gave you a compliment and, like, you know, or gave you feedback that was effective, and how did it, you know, what did they say that was effective and how did it make you feel? Some of those types of things, those types of questions you can get, not always, but you can get a feel for, like, if someone they're like, I can't come up with an example, or, you know, and again, people are going to act or respond differently, but asking some of those types of questions. And then also just talking about how our culture is unique and what we do differently than other restaurants. And if people are interested and ask questions, that's a good sign. Some people might just look and they're just like, okay, like cool, whatever, you know. But if they're like, oh, like that's really different from what I've seen in the past or I've experienced in the past, tell me more about that. Well, then I'm like, ooh, let's talk, right? Like, so that's a good sign.
Well, and it's because, I mean, when you look at not just in leadership, but I mean, across the board, you guys have been able to create these cultural zealots where people aren't just advocating for the food and the beverage program, they're advocating for the company, for the
Yeah.
owners.
Yeah.
Um, I would assume that if they have that level of buy in, it's because you're making the same level of investment in them and their lives. What does that look like for a Roadhouse employee? How do they know that they're loved and cared for beyond a paycheck?
Hmm. Yeah, I think we try to do our best. Again, you know, we're all human and we are a place of business, but I think what it can look like a lot is, you know, when somebody's having a bad day, again, instead of us just saying like, "What are you doing?" Like it's, you know, it's time for you to go. That we ask, you know, we might say, "Hey, let's after the shift, let's chat for a few minutes." Like, "Hey, this is some things I'm noticing. You don't seem like yourself lately. What you know, is there anything going on or anything that you want to share with me or anything that we can do to help?" We do have a lot of really cool things built into our organization, like something called community chest, so that if somebody is having an emergency of sorts, they can, you know, let us know and apply for aid. And so something like that is, that I think really sets us apart from places, other places of business, and a lot of restaurants don't offer that type of thing. But I think coming from a place of caring, and not that we don't discipline, and not that we don't, you know, have to sometimes kind of like crack down on things or really say, hey, like I'm really expect for you to take this kind of stuff seriously. I think it's first approaching it as, let's have that conversation first, and then once we've had the conversation, we can gain more understanding as to what's going on, and then just, you know, decide what the best approach is.
And then when somebody starts day one, they get their t-shirt or whatever it is that they get. What's the first signal that you guys have put into place that let them know that this place is different?
Well, I think some of it is just like in the you're seeing like after they're hired kind of thing.
Yeah, after they're hired,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
all about priming, whether we're talking about employees or customers.
Yeah, yep. So, I mean, I think just right off the bat, I think we have a fairly comprehensive, like introductory, like basic orientation kind of talk, and go through our training materials and something we call our roadie handbook. It's just our fun little names for things, and we go through stuff. And I think kind of right off the bat, sometimes it's people's first job, so they don't have a reference point. But if they've worked in restaurants or worked in other jobs that don't offer some of the things that we do, we go through that right up front, offering like employee meals twice a day, you know, complimentary. Um, Again, community chest. We also, just as an organization, and so therefore also the restaurant, offer full benefit package if people are interested, and kind of, you know, qualify if they're like full time, or part time. But I mean, you know, most restaurants, you're not going to go get, you know, medical and dental and a 401k, and you can at the Roadhouse. So I think some of those things people realize right away, like, wow, I need those things. That would be great to have them. I'm so glad that you offer them here.
Well, and I mean, you are a great example of like there is a path to ownership within the organization. But even servers and hostesses, they feel a sense of ownership. Talk to me about how you instill that and the things that you have in place where they have the opportunity to contribute.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So on all different levels. I mean, there's the opportunity to contribute with, like I said, we're open books, so we have something every week. They're called huddles, and we go over our financial information. And we you have to come to one as part of basic orientation, but after that, you can attend or you can become a line owner, somebody who owns like some of the metrics that we're sharing and tracking on our board. Um, so those types of things, encouraging, please come, please, you know, be a part of this, we want to hear your voice, kind of a thing. We also have community shares, so that's something that anybody in the organization can buy a share of the company, and it's one share per person, and that's all, as much as you can buy. But that is ownership. It is, we put up, it's $1,000 buy-in, and there's some nice, as long as the company is doing well, which is really up to all of us, right? So it's kind of feeling invested in not just your own business, but the entire organization at large. How can we make improvements? How can we continue to give feedback to make things better? And then we get some, like a profit sharing from that, which is nice. It's a pretty good amount of money for what you put in. And then when you leave the organization, you get your money back. So it's a really like win, 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 win on all different levels. So yeah, so I think we have lots of different things, opportunities in place on different levels of the restaurant organization.
I think a misconception is that people think employees leave because of pay, but that's rarely the real reason. What do you think is the number one factor that makes people stay at the Roadhouse?
I think pay, I think, is one, but it depends on your age, where are you living with your parents? Are you in school? Are you supporting yourself? Are you supporting a family? There's certain positions can make really nice money. And sorry, did you say what makes people stay?
Yeah, what makes people stay? Like that's churn.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it everywhere in the industry, right? The people come, they stay for 3 weeks, they find a job that'll pay them 50 cents more an hour, and they're out.
Yeah. So I think pay does play a factor, but I think a lot of the other things that we've kind of talked about, again, I mean, for me, like the top down thing is big. Like, I don't want to be barked at. I don't want to be people being rude or disrespectful to me when it's somebody that I'm supposed to respect as a leader in like the company that I'm working for. So I think our treatment of staff and us trying to be fair and respectful and provide and treat people with dignity, I think is a big differentiator, which is kind of sad, because I wish more companies and organizations believed in those types of things and treated their staff well. But so I think yes, finances, treatment of staff, other opportunities, involvement. Yeah, I think so. Those are some of the things.
So you guys are king and queen of the frameworks. So a major issue happens at the restaurant. There's a staff conflict, a guest complains, there are kitchen mistakes. What are the frameworks that you guys have for handling those situations in a drama-free way where it doesn't make things worse?
Yeah. So one of the big things when I came over as, serving at a different establishment and coming over as a server, one of the things that was really different and that I really, really appreciated is when something is going well and we want to, extra mile the guests and do something above and beyond, like something above and beyond so if they haven't asked for something, right? So if they say like, I want to try all your barbecue sauces, like to us, that's not an extra mile, but it would be thinking, okay, so they ordered this and I think they also might really like to try this. We're going to go ahead and do this extra special thing for them. So on the positive side, but then also on the, we call them make it rights. But yes, when something goes wrong with food or service, as a server, I had an opportunity, which was different in the place that I worked before, and probably most restaurants, I had an opportunity to say, okay, this is like what's, with myself, this is what's happening. This is a situation. What do I think is the best way to make it right for this guest? What do I think is the best way to handle this situation? And if I say, okay, I'm fairly certain, I've talked it over, I followed we have 5 steps to handling a customer complaint, and I'm following these things, and this is what I've chosen. I don't have to go to a manager. I don't have to ask, like, can I buy this for somebody? Can I get a dessert because it's their birthday? Can I do this? We let the servers make those decisions on their own, and of course come to us when it's necessary. If it requires a manager stepping in or a leader stepping in, or they say, I want to do something extra special. What do you think would be something good? This is what this is how it's going so far. This is what I've learned about them. But we give our staff the autonomy to do those things, which is very different from the environment that I came from. I mean, there it was, like I said, top down, you had to ask everything, like, is it okay? And like here, we're like, no, like we empower you to make those decisions. You decide, and we can help you. It's cool.
It's really interesting you bring that up. So I came upon this concept of a brand guarantee when I was doing marketing research. And so for my restaurant group, I had this brand guarantee. Everybody leaves happy. And I turned to my team and I said, I trust you. Like, until I can't, but I trust you.
Right.
So
yeah.
Comp what you want to comp, make sure that everyone leaves happy no matter what. That if it's a service issue that we need to deal with, or it's an anniversary, like stop coming to me. You'll have a comp tab. We'll review it at the end of the night. And then eventually we won't, you know? And it was amazing, Lisa, because I implemented this. I talked about it every day for a week. And do you know what happened? Nothing at all, because they didn't believe me. They didn't believe that I was going to be cool with all of these comps and all of these things. And so, right. And because it's top down, right. And so like when you empower people, when you give them that autonomy in our industry, I think they're less likely to take it because it probably feels like a trap. And so, right. And so,
like who's watching? Are they
right?
okay?
Who's watching? Can I give this drink? Is this a good reason? And like, I want them to think in that way. I want them to make sure that every comp they give is with intention. But like, if we totally screw up a two-top and it's their anniversary, I don't want to give them 2 glasses of champagne. I want to comp the meal, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but that requires a lot of trust, not on my part, on the part of the employee, that there aren't going to be repercussions for doing what I asked them to do. And so I would ask you, how do you build that trust so that they are then able to advocate for the guest without managerial approval?
Well, part of it is built into, we have the like I said, the 3 steps to great service. Ari's written a book about it. We talk about it is ingrained in our training materials. We talk about it. When someone says the 3 steps, people aren't like, what are you talking about? Right. And we go over it when someone's doing a shadow shift. So before they even get hired, we talk about it again at the Welcome to the Roadhouse class. We talk about it again in our Art to Give a Great Service class. And the third of those 3 steps is to go the extra mile. So as much as it might be a foreign concept to folks, we talk about it, then we talk about it again. And then this is fun. We also created something called at the Roadhouse called an Extra Mile Handbook. And it was kind of a fun process. And it was a long time, probably 2006 or something when we created it. But we said, hey, everybody working here, and in different departments, what are some cool extra miles that you've done for your guests? And I seriously think it was like a shoebox with like a slit in it. And we said, put all your entries, keep putting stuff in. We left it out for a couple different weeks and reminded folks. And we put together hundreds and hundreds of different things in different departments that folks can do as extra miles. So doing even something like that. And then we talk about that every time that we teach our Welcome to the Roadhouse class. And I bring it out and I say, would you like an electronic version? Look this over. And I think it gives people, again, kind of right out of the gate, here are things that you can do, things that you could do for your guests. And we want you to do for your guests. Be creative, think outside of the box, ask for help, come ask me, like not for permission, but like, hey, what do you think might be a good one? And staff do. So I think it's just constant, it's in the 3 steps that we go over all the time. And it's also in our like training plans. Like we just talk about it a lot. And so again, it's that commonality of language. And like when someone says an extra mile, I mean, everyone knows what you're talking about. They better know what you're talking about.
So, as an outsider listening to this, as someone that doesn't know you, doesn't know Ari, doesn't know Zingerman's, like they're just trying to get people to memorize like allergens and dietary restrictions, right?
Yeah.
And also so like but they listen to you and they hear, oh, the 3 steps for this and the 5 steps for this. And oh, this was fun. We put a handbook together. And they're just trying to get people to do the basics. You built a culture around learning and around like this voracious desire to learn, which is not easy to do.
It's not, to be honest.
It's not. It is, no, for sure, right?
Yeah.
Hey, guys, we have a new training manual that came out. Like, does everyone cheer? I'm imagining yes, but maybe not.
I mean,
what does it look like? How do you do that? I mean, people are assuming either everything we're talking about is a lie or you only employ nerds. It's got to be one or the other, right?
Yeah. I mean,
so how do you do it?
I would say, the folks, we lay the groundwork and folks come in and, same as other places. Some people do stay for 3 weeks. Some people stay for 3 months, and some people have been here almost as long as I have, like as a server. I think, yes, in training materials, yes, talk about it up front. But if we're not, again, reinforcing that on a shift by shift basis and asking those questions, like, so we give you that autonomy to figure out what to do when that burger wasn't cooked properly, but then asking throughout the shift and after the shift and at different points, like, hey, like, yeah, so what did you choose to do? Just as a double check and to make sure that something was done. But same thing for extra miles. And we've, coming out of the pandemic, like many places out there, a lot of our things that we were known for slipped in some regard, and extra miles were honestly one of them. So we're doing what we can, and that is talking about it at our huddles and at our meetings, redistributing the extra mile handbook. But I think again, talking about it on shift and asking those questions. So it's not just like, hey, here's our 3 steps, and then you never talk about it again. Like if you go up to a server and you're like, hey, this table 411 is blah, 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 blah. Can you make sure like you send something over? Or have you done an extra mile for table 406? They may say yes and they may say no. And if they say no, well, there's a trigger right there. Oh yeah, extra mile, right? Like, what should I do? What can I do? Should I send a sample? Should I buy some sweet potato fries? Should I, whatever it is? So I think doing all of those things are essential. And I think that's, it's easy to say, this is what we do. This is what we're known for. And then to not reinforce it, well, it's probably going to fade pretty quickly. And I think that's probably what happens at a lot of places.
Most restaurants don't document their culture in the way that you guys have.
Yeah.
And what I want to underscore is that that's not an easy thing to do. Like, it requires a lot of effort to do it. And so it's, the implementation is a whole conversation onto itself, which we've spent 32 minutes discussing.
Right.
But like the formation before the implementation, the documentation, what I think made me a really good coach and consultant is that, like, in order to make that transition, I had to spend a lot of time thinking about what I think about. And like, are the things that I believe to be true, are the levers that I pulled in my business actually the levers, or are those symptoms of a deeper root cause? Mm-hmm. Talk to me about how, in order to document this culture, you had to think more deeply about kind of the way you do business.
Yeah. Well, we're a bit spoiled here. I mean, I will admit, we have Ari and Paul at the helm, and Ari at some point, a while back, decided that he had already written some books, but then he got more into it and writing on different subjects and doing his business books and leadership books. And so we're spoiled to have somebody who had already been leading that charge. And then, it doesn't mean that there aren't additional things that some of the businesses come up with and put into their training manuals or training plans and things like that. But I think it does take at least a person, if not an entire team, to be dedicated to creating that material, because you're right. I mean, you can make something that's pretty skeleton and pretty bare bones and easy to train, but it doesn't mean you get all the cool things that, the types of things that we or other places are working on and are known for. It does take someone, like you're saying, like yourself, like, how do I document the things that I've been thinking about? I mean, you got to get it out there, right? You got to get it on paper. And then yes, the implementation piece is a whole other part of it. But I mean, you have to have that content and you have to figure out what that looks like, which is why we have Zingtrain to help us with, which I'm in their studio right now, but to help with teaching other businesses and organizations what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and helping to facilitate to get that into their cultures too.
What are you most proud of? Like, I am sure that when you look at the Roadhouse, you see your fingerprints, right? A little bit here, a little bit there, on this, on that. What are you most proud of?
That's a good question. I think.
Was that the first good question of the conversation? Now I'm beginning.
There's really good. No, they've all been really good questions. I guess there's lots of things I'm proud of, but I guess if I can just kind of take a look like inward and at my own growth and development. I mean, I started working at the restaurant in the organization in my mid-20s, and I've been here now just over 20 years. So I think if I could just look like, again, I mean, there's lots of different, honestly, there's so many things that I'm proud of, but I think that's one thing that I don't think about enough. And when I do, I feel really grateful for how long I've been here and for how far I've come and all the things I've learned and helping not just myself, but other people. So I think maybe our approach to treatment, again, the dignity, the respect, the caring piece, I'm proud of that about us because I don't see that a lot in the world in general, and maybe not as much these days either. But I like the way we do business. That makes me proud.
And if a struggling restaurant came to you for advice and they had a struggling culture, what's the first cultural shift you would tell them to make?
I would look at their leadership. I mean, people are people, but at the end of the day, I mean, whether you're top down or not, whatever inverted, triangle that you're looking at, if your leaders don't lead by example and don't treat people with respect, other people aren't going to do it either. So I think that's important. It starts there, and then there's lots of other things that you can do.
Culinarily, I believe that like the trends, they start on the East and West Coast and then they work their way towards the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But culturally, for the restaurant industry, I believe that the biggest cultural shifts, they start in Ann Arbor, Michigan. and
Right.
they work right. And they
Yeah.
work their way out. And the reason I say that is because there are things that you guys are doing today that feel new and experimental. And this was shit. I mean, this was true 15 years ago, right? And those things have become commonplace in the restaurant industry today. When you look at your crystal ball and you see what you're doing today that nobody else is doing, 5 years from now, what do you think operators are ignoring today that's going to be commonplace?
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably some of this no drama and calm is contagious work. I think the message and like the third step, right? Like the extra mile and like really elevating the experience. I think that's getting out more and more, which is a really good thing because I think that's helpful on a lot of levels. Um, I mean, I guess I would say, and some places are also following suit, and I thank goodness are putting a lot of emphasis on treating their staff well. But I would say getting into the nitty gritty of what that can and like maybe should look like. I think that a lot of places are behind the times and could learn something from implementing something like a no drama work into their culture.
You mentioned calm is contagious a couple of times in this conversation, but we didn't unpack it. Can you
Yeah.
define that for me and what that looks like in practical application?
Yeah, well, I can tell you kind of like what it is and then like, sure, like then how it can be applied. But it's basically laying out, there's 5 things that we say that we ask people not to do. And then we also have like a bunch of other things, about 10 things that we supply that can help people stay grounded, um, have healthy working relationships and try to get out of the downward spiral if indeed you find yourself falling into one. So I usually preface it with when I teach the material, I say, for the things that we ask you not to do, a lot of the things are elementary, as in you probably learned them in kindergarten, which is true. And then I go into the things that we ask people not to do. And I mean, I can tell you what they are if you'd like to hear them.
I'm curious. Yes, I've got all the time in the world. Tell me everything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we say for number 1 is no putting other people down, right? Like you learn that in kindergarten, I hope. But it's easy, for people not to follow it. And again, we're all human. So, but we ask to don't be a turd, don't be a jerk to other people. Like, be nice. Number 2 is to try to refrain from negative language, which again, it's like, oh, this sucks. Like this shift's the worst. I just got the worst tip ever. It's just not helpful, right? I mean, that's what can contribute to the toxic environment. And then you're trying to have to go to a table to be like, oh my gosh, thanks for coming in on your birthday. And someone just told you how much, you know what I'm saying? It isn't helpful. Number 3 is to minimize dramatic language for the same thing. It's just usually not helpful, especially when it's used in a negative way, in which its dramatics are usually tend to be negative. So, like, oh my God, this shift sucked. Like, we got crushed today. Like, okay, sure. Like we're going to all figure out, let's help each other and work past it and try to like get it to be better. Right. Not just like wallowing in our misery, which it's easy to do. Right. I mean, we're open 352 days a year. A lot. We're open for 7 days a week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you've worked in restaurants. I mean, at those peak meal periods, you're going to get your rush, and those are the times that can get chaotic, to use a dramatic word, but more things can contribute to the downward spiral. So again, these are ways to kind of combat that. And then number 4 is a term that I used at a Union Square hospitality service seminar, which you might have heard, but the term skunking, which is kind of just like talking shit about people, or the opposite of going direct to somebody if there's an issue. So we try to say like no skunking. We would prefer to either people to go direct when they're comfortable or to help with a mediated conversation if it gets to that point. So so number 4 is no skunking. And then number 5 is right place, right time, right people. So if it's 7:00 on a Friday night and someone's like, yeah, I'm going to go talk to them, like in the middle of the floor at that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need 25 people around you. We actually don't want you to do that in front of guests. It's really busy. It's on a Friday night. You know what I mean? So to consider all of those factors are really, really important. So those are the 5 things that we kind of lay out as like the foundation of things that we say, be mindful of or refrain from doing.
So here's another interesting question, at least for me. When restaurant owners and operators, they want to get better, they go to Zingtrain, which, I mean, I'm sure you're very familiar with the entire offering there. But outside of Zingtrain, how do you learn? How do you educate yourself? How do you keep yourself on top of not only like the trends, but the philosophies, everything that helps you do you better?
Actually, us, or just like in general?
You
things
personally,
that we actually do.
what do you do to become a better leader, a better manager, a better partner?
Sure. Yeah. So we do something. We have lots of stuff. You're just getting me going here. So at our manager meetings, we have something called Leader Reader, and so we will have whoever volunteers, one of the managers pick something and it's their choice. But something that is, inspiring and helpful and that we all read. So it's kind of like a book club, but it's just like a mini book club on like a chapter or an essay or something like that. And we've chosen a lot of Ari's work, but we can choose anything. So it can be something outside of the organization, but it is staying and sharing and collaborating and communicating on stuff like that. That's just one example of something internally that we do with our leadership team. There's also obviously seminars, and conferences, depending on what it is. There's stuff on open book finance that's helpful. I've been to like the Welcome Conference a couple different times in New York, and that was really fun and inspiring. What else? Yeah, I guess those are some just like off the top of my head, things that we can do to kind of stay fresh. Another thing that I've done personally was like a Dale Carnegie course, which was very helpful for myself. And then I've encouraged some of our other team members to also take the course, and they have, and that's also helped them tremendously. So there's, things again outside of Zingerman's and outside of the organization that can just help on whatever it is that you think that you would like to continue to improve upon.
It's so easy to look at our lives and say, well, it is what it is. And so this was the way it was always meant to be. But you certainly made choices along the way. I mean, you think about when you started as a server, there were a bunch of other servers there, right? When you became an assistant manager, there were other assistant managers, and you were the one that managed to become managing partner. And so I would ask you, like, what should we steal from you? What are the tactics, the tools, the strategies that have served you well and gotten you to lead what is a massive, amazing organization today that we could learn from and we could serve as well?
Yeah, I would say diligence and giving feedback. So, I mean, it's easy for me to say here and say, like, be diligent about something. I mean, I think it really does require and has been helpful for myself to try to, build in things to help you stay consistent. It's kind of easy to go up and down, or to let things like, sure, this and that, and things fall off and things, whatever. I mean, staying organized, again, some of these are going to be super generic and you're like, sure. I think another good thing that's really helped myself is to learn how to manage your manager and to give feedback. It doesn't have to just be to frontline staff or even other leaders, but from definitely leader to leader, and then from like managers to myself. Like I learned to do that, I would say, like somewhat early on in my leadership career, is to, as much as it's awkward, right? Because a lot of times going direct, it doesn't matter who it's with, can be awkward depending on what the topic is, but to not be scared to kind of speak from your heart and come with good intention. Because I mean, somebody might be, it's easy to get defensive and maybe offended at whatever it is that you're coming with. But again, what you want to happen is for things to be better. And so I'd say not backing down from those types of things, I think, is really, really important.